He made me watch him finish, and when it was over, I sat there and held my legs close to my chest. I didn't know how to react, so I covered my ears and sobbed. This isn't what I wanted. All I wanted was a friend, and now I can never go back. Growing up, I spent a great deal of time by myself. The loneliness became so unbearable that I joined online chat rooms just so I didn't feel so alone. Within minutes, I received over 100 messages from unknown men. I talked to a few of them and realized that they only wanted one thing, and that was to exchange pictures or talk dirty. It made me feel really uncomfortable, but I felt like I had to go along with some of it just so I could feel a connection to someone. But then, a man reached out to me who was different. He wasn't like all the other people on the site, or so I thought at first. We talked for ages and got to know each other. He asked a lot of silly questions such as, "What's your favorite color?" and "What genre of music do you like?" This person took the time to learn all about me, and he was interesting to talk to. When he told me that he was 39 years old, I didn't care about his age. For the first time in my life, I felt like I had finally found a friend. I didn't have to be alone anymore. After 2 months of messaging him every day and getting to know each other, he asked if we could video chat on Skype. I said yes. We started asking silly questions again, and then he asked me to stand up so he could see me better. I did so. He wanted me to turn in a circle, and I did that too. I sat back down, and we asked some personal questions. He told me he has 2 daughters. One was 8 years old, and the other was 12. So I asked him, "Are you married?" He said no, and that they got divorced several years ago. When he told me he had kids, I was surprised, and I didn't know how to feel about it. Even though I found it weird, I pushed it from my mind and continued to talk to him. He was the only person I could talk to, after all. I told him everything. I told him about my family, my dad walking out, my mother never being home, and that I felt completely alone. He soon became my lock that I could lean on for support, and our conversations gave me a reason to live. At the time, I was really in a dark place, but I felt that I could keep going as long as I had him to talk to. As the months went by, we grew closer. He gradually began saying inappropriate things and asking me to do stuff. It got to the point where we would send photos of ourselves not wearing any clothes and describe explicit acts. I didn't feel comfortable doing these things and always hid my phone from my mom, but I sent the photos anyway because he gave me the attention and support that I needed. He was always there for me to talk to about anything, so I wanted to fulfill his needs as well. I feared he would leave me and find someone else if I didn't give him what he wanted, so I did. We continued to talk every day, and every single day he said the words, "I love you." Those 3 words are what pulled me in deeper, longing for love and affection. I didn't get that from my family or from anyone else in my life. I said, "I love you back." I meant it at the start, but as time went on, I began to realize that this isn't really love. How could it be? Suddenly, the word love had lost all meaning to me. It was just a word we tossed around, but it didn't mean anything. One day we talked on Skype as usual. This wasn't like sending a photo. This was worse, so much worse. After he was done, I sat there in shock. I felt so dirty, and no matter how much I scratched my skin, that feeling didn't leave. When it was over and we ended the call, I sat there and held my legs to my chest. My own voice came into my head and yelled awful things at me, such as, "He's just using you. He doesn't love you. Nobody loves you." Time went on, and despite the fact that I broke down and cried after every Skype session, we continued to do those things and say, "I love you." I never wanted to do those things with him. All I wanted was a friend, but he made me feel like this is what I had to do to keep his friendship. In return, he gave me attention and emotional support. That was what I needed. I craved for that connection, to feel like someone cared. So I did everything he wanted, and I didn't tell anyone about us. It was our secret. It became impossible to focus on my work. Now I was too distracted to learn anything. I was constantly thinking about this man. Dirty messages continued. We often talked about meeting in person someday. I became paranoid. When I looked at the faces of all my male teachers, all I could see was his face, and the last thing I cared about was work. So I decided to search for him on Facebook. His profile picture was of him, his 2 daughters, and an unknown woman standing beside them. I thought it could be an aunt or a friend, but I decided to look deeper. Eventually, I stumbled upon wedding photos on someone else's account. The woman in the picture is his wife. I was devastated. Even though I knew the truth, I couldn't stop speaking to him. Whenever we did things on Skype, I was overwhelmed by guilt and shame. I'd hug my knees, cry, and cut. Rinse and repeat. I thought of disappearing every day. I felt like I was caught in a circle where I couldn't get out, and that only made me dislike myself even more. But what else did I have to live for? This man was all I had. No one else gave me any support, so I did everything I could to keep his attention. I felt so bad about it, and the guilt ate at me every day, but it still went on. A year passed. I saw a therapist, but it didn't help much. I couldn't tell her what was really bothering me. The man said that if I told her, he would disappear and never talk to me again. The stress, guilt, and shame grew higher. It was pulling me down. One day, I couldn't hold it in anymore and took it upon myself to do something drastic. I didn't want to get the police directly involved, so I went on Facebook and messaged the man's wife and told her everything. It made me feel better to tell her the truth. She got the message but didn't respond. The man didn't say a word to me after that day either. He disappeared like he said he would. I never heard from him again. The only thing I know from looking on Facebook is that they are still together. It has been over 5 years since the day I met this man, but I remember it like it happened yesterday. Images of him often flash through my head. The memories are rather vivid. I can never erase what we did, and it haunts me to this day. But my mental state has slowly improved, and now I'm feeling better. Looking back now, I should have reported him. I sometimes wonder, what if he's still talking to 13-year-old girls? What if someone else is going through what I did? I regret not speaking when I had the chance to. To those listening, if you are ever in a similar situation, please tell a relative, a friend, or a therapist, anyone. Please do something before it's too late. It does get better. I promise you, it does.